welcome everybody to another episode of Weird Growth, the podcast where we listen to founders tell their strange and unpredictable stories about how they grow their startups. And today we're very lucky to have Mr. James Salt of Constructive Software with us.
Thank you, Cam.
One of the quiet achievers of the Perth startup or Australian startup scene, really, and seeing some really significant progress over the past 6 months, which is really exciting. Thank you for joining us, mate.
Oh, thank you very much for having me on. I mean, yeah, quiet achiever. Whether I think I've achieved, that's probably a question. So,
yeah. Well, you can leave to others to judge it. And I mean, full disclosure, Ammo Marketing, we do work with you guys, but I think yours is a story of really identifying an important need in the marketplace and just being super laser focused on building out something which people love.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd love to hear from you. How would you describe what Constructive does and what you do?
I suppose Constructive, we're software as a service for residential builders, but quite specifically, we're about the client's user interface of building. Like we all know there's a problem with customer experience with house builders. It's like a really big purchase, and there's a lot of angst around that. And I suppose Constructive was about tackling that and kind of trying to up the customer experience that clients have, get a bit more positive sentiment, and build out tools to enable that.
Yep.
And that's very much our mantra. That's what we're after.
Yep.
And I suppose we build certain tools to enable that. The biggest one, obviously, being pre-start selections or material selections for builders.
Yeah.
The biggest problem space.
Yeah. I'll ask you a little bit more about what all that means in a little bit, because it is a little bit of a technical field. But the thing is, here in Western Australia, it's actually quite a common experience for people to build a new house. In Perth, we've got these sort of expansive suburban,
massive greenfield kind of fill out. Yeah,
yeah, and probably it's pretty common at one point or another time in their life, people are going to build a house from scratch, and it's so common to hear these nightmare stories of trying to deal with builders or trying to figure out what's actually going on, delays. And so that's something that sounds like you've set out to solve.
That's our thing that we're trying to attack. I mean, you look on product review and you look at the kind of what people are saying. It's always about understanding the process, understanding what they're going to get for their money, and that's definitely what Constructive's trying to solve for the industry.
Yep.
And yeah, I suppose coming back to the original question, being laser focused and being very specific to an industry and very specific problem gives us scope to really attack that and hopefully make a difference to it.
Yeah, and do a wonderful job of it. So what is it so your clients are the builders themselves?
Yes.
The people who build the houses.
Yep.
And then they provide your software as a service to whoever's building the house with them, right?
Yeah. So it's B2B to C, rather strangely.
Sure.
So our product is used by the end clients, but the actual benefit, the main benefit, I suppose, is both the builder and the person building the house. Yeah. The
so what is it for in it for the builder to go and seek out this sort of third-party software to then send on to their clients?
So a builder doesn't seek out to confuse and befuddle people. Yeah. They want educated clients. They want the clients to understand what they do because it's a complex thing.
Yeah.
And if they can get the client to understand what they do, that's half the battle with actually getting a good outcome for the client.
Yeah.
So the builder wants us to help them educate the client as to what they're going to get, what they're going to choose, right? So it is really, the builder wants the same thing as the client.
Sure.
It's not as adversarial as...
It's like lining up the incentives there. And it's like what they say, 90% of all problems stem from communication.
Yeah.
And so if you've got this really nice, clear sort of line of communication where the customer doesn't feel like they need to be on the phone every day to the builder going, hey, what's going on? When is my roof going on? Or whatever, then it kind of solves a lot of that, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes away that translation issue and the worry, right?
Yeah.
And the biggest element of that is the material, like what they're actually going to get in their build, which is that part that Constructive does.
So when you say material, what sort
like
of things?
Like taps, sinks, that kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
And that's the biggest kind of thing, and that's what Constructive tries to tackle.
Because when you think about it from, if I was to be building a house, you are focused on the very tangible things, like what's my kitchen going to look like and what kind of doors am I going to have on the cupboards and what's the tap going to be.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of nice, almost emotional angle for building it. You get visualizing what it's actually going to feel and look like when you're living in it.
And I suppose that's precisely what Constructive's trying to deliver to the client, right? It's trying to give them that visualization of what they're actually choosing.
Yep.
And in some aspects, actually visualizing that on 3D in terms of what they're going to get.
Yep.
To enable the builder to give that service to the client to get that sense of surety.
Yeah.
And kind of, I know what I'm getting.
So, like, how big is the problem? Is how many houses are built? For example,
problem space in Australia, you've got about 166,000 homes built per year.
Wow.
Of which about 102,000 are single dwellings, and then the rest are kind of multi-unit dwellings like apartments, those kind of things. And that's just Australia. Strangely enough, UK, even though it's triple the population, same number of houses built.
No way.
Just a lot
more
squashed in.
established. Yeah.
And not as much growth as Australia, right?
Sure. Yep.
Canada, same number as Australia. USA, 2 million houses built per year.
Holy moly.
So there's a lot of building going on there,
and a lot of blue sky for Constructive potentially.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. A lot of scope there. Just got to get there, make it market fit for each of those industries, geographies.
Yeah, sure. No, fair enough. And so in terms of where Constructive is at the moment, and compared to what you could be, sort of like what's the goal there, or what's the differential for you?
Where it could be, I suppose, we are in Australia at the moment, so where it could be is international.
Sure.
In terms of goal, like beginning of this year, we were looking at like trying to get a third of the market share in Australia, which is nuts, right?
That is massive, yeah.
Trying to achieve that is quite mental.
Yeah, so you might be doing 30,000, 40,000 houses if you hit that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, about 33,000. And that was the goal. This last year has been quite nuts, so getting quite close to that already.
Yeah.
And I suppose taking that and probably trying to go further in market share, although I think that's probably unachievable, and then replicate that in additional markets.
Yeah. Once you start getting to that sort of percentage, it's almost like you're a market leader or the default, and people are like, why don't I have Constructive on my build?
Well, I mean,
maybe
marketing, right? So you're out there. It's a very small industry. People move from place to place. Actually, word of mouth is massive. So someone leaves one builder, goes to another builder, going, "Why the hell aren't you using this?"
Yeah.
And that's a big lead generator. And certainly you get to a point where you kind of go, "Oh, you haven't heard about us? Why not?" And that's a weird place to be. Not something we're used to. We're used to being small and kind of trying to get our word out. And suddenly people are starting to come to us, which is cool.
That's where you want to be, and that is a sign that you actually built a product which people love, or people feel the need to have, and they're missing out if they don't have it.
Yeah, well, hopefully it solves that problem, right? That's the problem I tried to define at the beginning.
Yeah.
If we solve that problem, we're doing it well.
Yep.
And we're doing it for the right reasons. And
yep. Yeah. We might try and show some imagery of what Constructive looks like from a user's point of view in the YouTube. But cool. Essentially, from my point of view, it creates this cool 3D sort of rendering of a house.
Yep.
And you can experiment by putting on different materials and you can visualize what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, when you're in the construction phase, so that's the sort of sales selections phase, right? When you're choosing what bits and pieces go into the house.
Before you start construction,
And then when you're into construction, you sort of help through the process of
so
the steps and things.
What's going on? What information do you need? Even down to photos and video walkthroughs of the house. So during COVID, that was a really popular thing. Supervisors were wandering around the house doing video walkthroughs because they couldn't go there themselves.
Amazing.
And so kind of just trying to get that information out to the client, not hiding it behind a locked door.
Yeah.
So when you build a house, there's like a large time when it's locked.
And I mean, the obvious question is, how much do you think COVID has contributed to the sort of increased pace of your growth?
No doubt, absolutely. Two different angles on that. So number one, obviously, anyone that's in the tech kind of industry, it's just kind of pushed people that direction. That the barriers that were there before COVID hit suddenly disappeared as people just went, we need to get stuff done. We need to enable all of that.
It really accelerated it, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Those 6 to 8 weeks really just cleared a lot of barriers. Everyone we were talking to just turned around and went, yeah, we need it done yesterday.
Unbelievable.
And then on the flip side of that, through stimulus, you've got the whole government sitting behind the house building industry trying to trying to put a rocket under it, which then goes, right, all these builders are just trying to deal with the volume they've got.
Yeah.
And they're trying to look at solutions for it.
Unbelievable.
So, yes, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
It's probably accelerated that time frame massively.
It has been amazing how intense but random the effects of COVID has been on such a diverse groups of or different industries. You know, who would have predicted that it was COVID that would have, like home ordered gym equipment sold out within a week, and they just couldn't get gym equipment out to people's homes because all the gyms had shut down. But pubs and hotels and hospo and everything else absolutely overnight died. So it was just so random, you couldn't have predicted it.
No, I mean, we've got nothing in the modern age that would be anywhere close to what's happened, right? So we've got nothing to base it off. The most recent we got is 1918, which is nowhere near the same.
So when you first sort of identified this as as something that was a need in the marketplace,
strangely enough, when I was about 16 in the UK.
Is that right?
So my family are house builders.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
The process in the UK is very similar. So what happened was they wrote down what kitchen, what colours, what carpet, and made the choices, they call it in the UK.
Yep. The choices.
Hand that to the builder. Builder goes and builds it and finishes a house. The client never goes and sees it while they're building it. Hand it over, give the key to the client. Client walks in and goes, "That's the wrong kitchen."
Holy moly, yep.
So like a 10 grand kitchen, 10 sterling, gets ripped out, chucked back in, and there you've got an immediate argument that you need some kind of better way of communicating this backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
So that was 1996, and a problem defined, right?
Absolutely.
And I suppose all these years later, it's just a manifestation of that kind of need.
Yeah.
But in a slightly different market.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well done.
And that kitchen actually ended up in our garage. So it was a reminder every day when I saw it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Nice, tangible reminder. That's awesome. And so when you first started Constructive, then what did it look like then? What was the first feature or MVP of it?
So the first stuff was the simple stuff, the customer portal side. So how to get information out to the client as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then during the last boom cycle, 2012, it was around kind of what can the client do for the builder to move this process along quicker. And that's really where choices or selections came about, and really that got its big push.
An obvious fit the step before.
Yeah.
Okay.
And working with a couple of key clients, kind of going, right, what's will make the biggest difference to your business?
Yep.
How can we get it in there?
Yep. Well, that's pretty critical. So that very first sort of iteration, how did you find someone that was willing to buy that and trust their big construction, projects to do that? A little bit of software.
And this is always its contacts, right? So I previously worked at a software vendor to house builders.
Okay.
Had lots of contacts. When I went out and started on my own, I knew there was a problem already. I'd already had people attacking me around that problem.
Yeah.
So it was a logical thing. It didn't start straight away. I did that kind of consulting thing, trying to get some money together to be able to fund it.
Nice work.
So a couple of years and then got it going.
Yeah, I mean, it's always this sort of from the outside, it seems like an overnight success, and it's 10 years in the making. But the way that you've gone about it, is really textbook in that you already had that need identified. You already were close to the customer. You already knew how they thought and made decisions.
Yeah,
and they were almost hitting you up for it, right?
Yeah, to an element. I mean, there's bits where you develop out where it's speculative, but quite a lot of that is pre-validated. You're having those conversations and you're working with the client to design it, and that takes a lot of the risk away, right? It's not that blue sky kind of software out of nowhere hoping there's a client base for it.
What would you say to other early stage founders who do have an idea and a problem that they really want to solve? How would you, advise them to go about getting their first customers?
So use the contacts that you got. Hopefully you know about the industry, so you've been around that industry before, and just ask them for some time. It's amazing. people will give you time, especially if it's in their interest and trying to align your interest with theirs.
Yep.
So they do well, you do well, and trying to identify how they will do well.
Yep.
And really get that.
So you're not trying to go
there.
in there and sell them straight away. You're almost asking them for help, as opposed to, hey, I've got this thing that I'm working on. Will you buy it?
You're trying to solve a problem for them.
You're right.
Right. And certainly that's the approach I took. It's kind of, what are your problems? How can we solve it? And look at it from that point of view, and then the product comes out the back of that.
Yep.
But definitely try and solve that problem and try and identify who. Develop the problem with the person rather than come up with a problem, then find a person that has it.
Yeah, try and make that round peg fit in the square hole.
Yeah.
Spot on. And you see that so much in technology in particular.
Yeah, I mean, some things do start like that and are massive, right? So sometimes it does work. It's just a lot less likely to work.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you're more lucky if you do.
Yep.
If you manage to validate it from the first word you're doing, that's a winner.
So then over the years, you sort of built those contacts up, you built, the product developed. What were the next steps to sort of reaching a wider audience or to growing your customer base?
Getting the courage to take what you've produced and sell it to people. I'm not a natural salesperson. So we did this thing, got it running at 2 key clients. And then, plucking up the courage to then go, right, all these people I've known and know me by various different ways, I've got to leverage that somehow and get in front of them and go, you should be using this.
How does it feel that first time you sort of step in the room with someone you only arm's length know and you're trying to...
persuade them.
With your baby,
Well, it's that fear of, is the baby good enough, right? And that's the thing I had to overcome. And I had to really believe the product was going to solve a problem for them. Right. And as soon as I really got in my head that they might not understand that this is going to solve a problem for them, but it really will, because I've seen people use it and love it. I just need to get them to realize they've got this problem and this is the way to solve it.
Well, as you say, it's not sales. It's helping people solve a problem.
Well, indeed. And as soon as I got that mindset, then I was able to go out there and I wouldn't be so fearful. And it's getting that point.
Yeah.
That
it's just a mindset switch, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Believing in your product. I mean, most founders and people do. It's just taking that into a sales meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're not a natural salesperson, it can be pretty daunting for sure. Okay, so sales process and getting that down pat. Then what? How do you sort of go to the next step?
Not sure I've got the sales process down pat, but the next process is probably where we are now, which is just trying to build the engine that keeps humming and that we continue even as we grow to service all these people in a quality way.
Yep.
And make sure we can service everybody that wants it.
Yeah. Engine's an interesting word to use because it is a process. It's not just a one-off thing that you do, right? It's an ongoing system.
By that, I mean the engine of getting people on board and getting them going.
Yep.
And the process engine, same kind of terminology.
Yep.
But making sure that runs, that works.
Yeah.
And that's a tricky thing to do when you're inside the business doing some of those little cogs and things yourself.
Definitely.
To actually abstract away and kind of go, well, how can those things be done?
Work on the business instead of
and that's
and so you've been growing a team around you to do that. What's that been like? Sort of letting go of delegating some of those cogs and little things.
Nerve-wracking, but I suppose you're lucky that you find people that share some of the passion and are interested in building that out, and you work with them as a team to do it.
Yeah,
it took us a long time to really start growing quickly.
Why is that?
Probably because it took a while for it to really kick off.
Yeah.
Like it was a slow kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where we got to like 12, 15 clients, and then we kind of went, right, okay, we've got enough revenue, we can fund this.
Okay. So sort of like building on the... Yeah.
I mean, we've always operated cash flow positive in terms of it's got to pay for itself.
So you've bootstrapped this from day one.
So it's always
really
been
impressive.
Get to that point and then go, right, okay, we've got enough, we can do this and then build it out.
Yeah. So do you think if you have taken investment early on or sorted it out, you would have grown faster?
Yeah, I think you would have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know whether the outcome would be the same, whether you'd have the same passion. I've often thought about that. It feels fairly quick. It feels as if it's grown quickly, although it's taken like 4.5 years.
That's pretty quick, man. That's pretty impressive to get to, potentially a third of the market in that amount of time. It's pretty cool.
Any more than that, would it have been breakneck? Would it have been too painful? I don't know.
Yeah. So, in terms of the growth aspect of this, you get to the point where you've worked with a good proportion of the market. There's word of mouth happening. It's a great product. People talk. They see it around. How do you then package that up and market that to a broader audience to sort of really step things up? What are the sort of things that you've been doing over the past, say, 12 months to kick that up?
Well, working with professionals, obviously. To kick that up, it's going past your existing network. So I've relied on my network to before Christmas, really.
Yeah.
And it's going outside of that and kind of really actually doing marketing and actually putting the word out on media and those kind of things. So you're getting cold leads in that don't know you already.
Yeah.
Which is different than leads where you know the person, they trust you as a professional.
Yes.
And then you're getting them to onboard with the actual software.
Yeah.
It's quite different having a cold lead coming in.
Yeah. Because you've got to earn that trust from zero, basically.
Yeah, you don't have that trust. You've got to go in there cold.
Yeah.
I suppose getting out and doing the cold sales, and that's really the main difference.
Yeah.
When you're trying to get that saturation.
Yep. And so when you say getting the word out, what are the sort of things that you're finding are working?
AdWords, kind of LinkedIn, kind of getting out in front of people in that industry. It's quite a specific market client set.
It is. Yeah.
So really being targeted and trying to get them in there if they're interested, doing that remarketing stuff and hammering the poor buggers with those adverts. But getting it out there.
Yeah, I mean, like just the things that I've seen at least that has been working really well for you guys is the fact that people are searching for a solution to this. Or if it's not a specific solution, they're researching in the area at least.
Yeah.
And so that's why the AdWords stuff does seem to be pretty effective. And then they're not probably going to convert straight away necessarily, but when you're repeating a message on an ongoing sort of basis to them and selling them the benefits over time, then it gets to the point where it's like, this is actually something I need to sort of get involved in and dig a bit deeper.
One thing I would say on that is like being the first product to do that function, like there's nothing else that does exactly what we do. People don't know it's out there.
Right.
And that's kind of the education piece. What is this? How will it help our business? And as you said, just constantly putting it in front of them so it just piques their interest.
Yeah.
And trying to build that understanding is really valuable.
Yeah. A lot of people sometimes get a little bit concerned that they're repeating that message too many times or going too hard.
Yeah.
And when they start getting feedback from customers that, I'm seeing you everywhere, or like, are you doing, you're probably doing a little bit too much. That's probably the point that you know that you're just doing enough and that you're just starting to cut through.
Yeah,
especially with people who, as you say, don't even know that the solution exists to their problem yet.
Yeah.
So, it is important to have that repetition because the one time probably isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, they need to have time to kind of think about what it is and develop it in their own head.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's been really valuable, certainly over the last 7 months working with you guys, pulling that out and kind of the amount of cold leads coming in is a different game compared to where we were before.
Yeah, cool. But I mean, they're not all going to convert the same way that warm leads are, obviously.
No.
But what you do get is you start getting that feedback loop around what is the messaging or what's the sort of value that you need to show those people when you get better over time. And what I hope for you guys you'll see is you'll get this really nice playbook, which you can then just copy and paste and take that to the US or take that to the UK because it's worked so well here. Or in the first market that you started in. So
absolutely.
So that's what the best startups are able to do is that playbook which can be copied and pasted in different markets. Yeah, it's very exciting.
And that's that bit of kind of looking outside of the business and trying to build the engine. That's what I refer to, both from a marketing, sales, and also the operation side.
Yeah. Something that really cool that you've been working on recently is almost like an embed feature that the client can have on their site. So it's like a third-party plugin or something.
From a marketing point of view.
Yeah, for their marketing, right?
For their marketing. So that's kind of leveraging the technology we have, the massive item library, material library we built, and then pushing that out and reusing it, trying to leverage what we've done and get more use out of that.
Yeah.
So that's for the house builder to kind of allow the client to engage with their house types and models and play.
Yeah.
And really kind of give that to the builder to then give to their clients, even if they're or prospective clients.
So it's like this awesome, almost interactive 3D brochure on the builder's site that they can actually start experiencing what it would be like to work with them before
they even get there.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, on a pivot side, we then get builders going, actually, we really like that, but just in the showroom. Like
really?
the builders have spent like, I don't know, mega millions on building showrooms, and they want to leverage that as much as possible.
Okay.
So that's when talking to the client, getting their feedback, and actually going, well, that would be brilliant, but actually using it over here, that'd be awesome.
So what does that look like? Having like a big interactive screen or something?
Yeah, so and allowing the client to kind of register, go through, make selections, even then not building a house with them.
Right.
So it's like a lead capture tool.
Yeah.
So just talking to the client. And
so in their physical
them,
showroom, they can go in, grab an iPad or something, and go around and start filling out their constructive selections. What
is their future house going to look like when they choose a builder? Hopefully they choose this builder.
Yeah, that's way better than a glossy brochure.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
More interactive. But that's another story of just talking to the client as much as you can.
Yeah.
Talking to those people and kind of figuring out what they really need and adapting what you've got.
Is that a temptation getting pulled in different
Too many
directions?
ways?
Yeah.
Is very much so.
Yeah. How do you balance that?
So what we've attempted to do, and I'm not sure anyone balances it well because you always have clients pull you this way and that, is to stick to the mantra of it's the client's experience that we care about.
Right.
All right?
The end user's experience.
The end user's experience. If it's going to make their life better, going to enhance how they feel about building a house, that's our bag.
Right.
Right.
So everything through that lens.
Through that lens.
Nice. That's a good way to do it.
And hopefully that keeps us from trying to build everything that the builder wants.
Yep.
And enable us to stay good at what we do.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, someone told me once, if you try to be too many, then you don't get any.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You need to be good at what you do and stick at what you do.
Yeah. No, that sounds really sensible, mate. Exciting.
Yeah. Has been.
Is there anything you would have done differently over the past 4.5 years?
Well, the open question is investment. I've kind of would have grown quicker. I should have been more proud of the product and got it out quicker, and that's always a thing. And probably got to the point where I was employing people quicker.
Okay.
You're always, or certainly I'm always quite cautious about each of those steps, and you look back and you go, why didn't I do that yesterday or that month before?
You could always say that, but this whole process is about learning.
Yes, and absolutely.
Yeah, and if you had all the answers from day one,
that'd be wonderful, wouldn't it?
We'd all be billionaires because you could make all the right decisions straight away.
Yeah.
So it's all about figuring it out as you go, obviously. Yeah. So, no, that's fair enough. One thing that we always do at Weird Growth is we ask for whether you've got a gadget or a tool or something which just makes your life better that you want to share with everybody.
All right. So quite old school.
Yep.
I've got a pad of paper. In the morning, I write my list of tasks that I've got to do.
Really?
I number each one of them.
Yep.
And I have the intense satisfaction of crossing each one off as I get it done.
A little dopamine hit each time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And that, out of all the tools and all the rest of it, that's the one thing that stayed with me for the 7 or so years I've been out on my own doing my own thing.
Good old to-do list, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That extrinsic motivation. Someone else is telling me what to do, the piece of paper.
Yeah, it's really funny. Like, we use Asana internally and, same thing. They've got the tick boxes and your to-do list and you have it as a team and everything. And when you tick the box, like a unicorn with rainbows flies across the screen. Yeah. But it's just not the same. as having that physical
Just
cross off.
crossing it
I do
off.
exactly the same, mate.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have my little black book and I put my to-do list down and I cross it
Yeah.
off. And
It's probably not a revolutionary kind of thing, but
but mate, it works.
Sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing about that is there's a really great book about, it's called Getting Things Done.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, they talk about so much stress and anxiety comes from the uncertainty of not knowing whether or not you've missed something, or, you know, having that sort of information bouncing around your head which hasn't been externalized yet.
Yeah.
And so just the process of writing something down physically and then crossing it off physically really does, I don't know, it just keys in with our natural brain
Yeah.
rhythms. That was
How
what
it
we want
works.
to do as humans. Yeah. Yeah.
But don't worry if you don't get it all done.
That's it. It's going to be there for tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you can sleep in the knowledge that that list is still there for you in the morning. It's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah,
The
no.
fairies aren't going to come and do it for you.
That's a
overnight.
shame. but
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Jack, how are we going for time, mate? Is there anything else we need to talk about?
Just a question. I got a question for Constructive from Rob.
Oh, we have got a question
Got
for
one-
Constructive
one question
from
Rob.
dear correspondent.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
So Rob's asked, what's the strangest way you found a lead or a lead has come to you?
So what's the strangest way you found a lead or a lead has come to you, James?
Strangest way. Bona fide lead or just an inquiry?
Any inquiry, anything, yeah.
So we're
Good question.
B2B, so it's generally we're getting these big enterprises, and we occasionally get the odd kind of, I'm building a house, I want to do selections, can you do this?
It's like a home builder.
Yeah, home builder.
Okay.
So they all have the same problem, right?
Yep.
But home builder, I want this set up. I want it just for my job and put it through, and that's always a very sad story because we say no, we can't do that. Talk to a builder, and then
It's probably old Kev who's just going to be laying bricks on the weekend
Yep.
over the next 10 years.
and he wants to see what his house is going to look like.
Tell him to go to SketchUp or something.
Yeah, oh, fair
Just draw
point.
it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not everyone knows how to do it, but
That's funny.
most of the time the intriguing leads are all kind of friend of friend, someone I used to work with somewhere else, and that's kind of that word of mouth thing. That's always the interesting ones.
Yep.
But no truly bizarre ones, unfortunately.
Well, with that, James, thank you so much for sharing the story of Constructive Software. Very excited for the future.
Thank
to see
you.
what that holds for you. And thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on there.
Well, that's it for Weird Growth for another episode. If you are keen to listen to more, make sure you don't miss out on any more episodes. Please do subscribe to Apple Podcasts or check us out on YouTube. But with that, thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.